Hey all you creative string players out there, Jacob here with a bootleg video on a new toy that's really been spicing up my practice during this whole Corona quarantine. It's the Vidami by Utility Designs. Now essentially what this thing is a controller for YouTube. You plug it into your laptop via USB and then this thing goes to work and saves you a tremendous amount of time. So for those of you guys that do any transcribing or checking out video lessons on that platform, you're probably going to want to check out this video. And I'm going to show you right now how this thing works. So on the bottom we have standard play controls that'll be familiar to all of you. We've got our back switch, our stop, pause, pretty self-explanatory, and a forward switch. And up here is really where the fun begins. We've got a speed control and a loop function. So let's check these out in action. I have a YouTube video pulled up on my MacBook Air. You can't quite see his face in the frame here, but this is Mateus Asado, really awesome player, super tasty. I've been checking out some of his videos recently, and I did install the Chrome extension that you can download for free off of Utility Design's site. I'm not going to do that right now. I assume most of you guys have downloaded and installed software before. But once you've done that, it's literally plug and play. So this is the USB cable that's hardwired here to the back of the Vidami, and I simply plug it in and I'm ready to go. So I've got my stop and play function here. I've got my scrub back. And I've got my scrub forward. Each of those take you, I think, 5 seconds back and forward. And for those of you who've ever wasted a ton of time putting your bow or instrument down and scrolling back and forth using the little scrubber here on YouTube and your mouse, or even using the keyboard shortcut to do that, this really does save a lot of time. But the real time and magic happens with these top two buttons. So we have, I'm going to start it playing again. Sorry about that. We have our speed function, which takes us down to 75%, 50%, just lowering it a little bit so you can see with every button you press, you're getting some visual input here on the screen. It's showing you. If I click it again, we go down to 30%, 20%. Nice to have those options there. And then one more time brings us back to 100%. Now we also have a looping function. Stop it for a second here. And this looping function works the same way any audio looper would. The first click sets the loop point beginning, the second click sets the end of the loop point, and then a third click releases the loop and sets everything back in motion the way it was. So if I just start playing here, oh, I think I already had a loop on before, sorry about that. And as you can see, you're getting that visual input every time. Yeah, I can do a better job there. There we go. Kind of hard to do this backward, guys, sorry. Okay. Now something really cool about the looper is that the other buttons still work while the looper is engaged. What do I mean by that? Well, first, I can change the speed. Say I was looping and I was at full speed. I can slow that loop down. 75%. 50%, etc., etc. And then bring it all back to speed, of course. Now I'm going to release this loop and try a longer loop. So say I've created a really long loop, but as I practice, I just want the very beginning of it. Well, I can also use the back control still to take me just to the beginning of the loop without breaking the loop. So I just want that. So that's a really handy feature as well. Now that you understand what this unit does, I want to take a second to talk about the pros and a few cons. On the pro side, the build quality is amazing. It's a really solid hunk of metal, and the switches are excellent. I'd say they're comparable to, really nice loop switcher boxes that you might purchase. It feels really good, and I think that's really important with a unit like this because I realized just in transcribing one solo, I probably stomped on these buttons about 1,000 times. So it's durable, and that's a good thing. Right down to the USB cable, which, as I mentioned, is hardwired into the back. At first I thought that was a little bit strange, but it gives you one less thing to look for and makes it even more plug and play. So I wound up liking that quite a bit. Also, this is, as you can see from the demo video, it's incredibly easy to use and convenient. There is no learning curve from installation to becoming a power user. The only feature as a looper and controller that I would have liked to have seen is maybe some type of jump point where after you've set a 4-bar phrase, you can go to the next 4-bar phrase or the previous 4-bar phrase. My favorite transcription software, Amazing Slowdowner, has that, and I find that's really useful if I'm transcribing, an entire chorus of a 12-bar blues, for example, to just have my 2 bars and then have it jump to the next 2 bars and not have to continually set and reset loop points. But that's a very, very small caveat. And again, because most of what's happening is in software, and this is essentially just sending what I assume are keyboard commands, the company may very well add that in the future. Now, as far as cons, and this is a big one, because Chrome extensions do not work on iPads or iPhones or iOS in general, because I guess Apple and Google hate each other's guts, this unit will not work with your iPad or your iPhone, even if you have a USB adapter. I did try it, and actually the play pause, the play stop button did work, but the others did not. And that's a huge con. I would have loved to have been able to use my new iPad Pro, and it is a little bit annoying to keep your computer on your music stand. But a lot of this comes down to how you practice. If you're a desktop person and you have a studio workstation like mine back here, and that's where you do a lot of your work, it won't be a problem at all. Or if you have a nice light laptop and you're willing to put it up on your music stand, no worries there. The other big con is the cost. This costs $150, and with shipping it ran $160. And full disclosure, like all the other videos that I do, this is not a sponsored video. I went out and bought this myself, so my opinions are my own here. That seems like a pretty hefty cost, especially in terms of the hardware. The hardware is nice, but as I said, a nice switcher with 5 jacks, it would probably cost $50 or $60 at the most. So you really are paying a bit of a premium here. But any value proposition is really in the eye of the beholder. And if you are spending more than 20 or 30 minutes a day learning on YouTube specifically, this will absolutely save you a ton of time. And over the days and weeks and months and years that you're using this thing, it will absolutely pay for itself. One thing that I think could really add to the value, and is definitely on my wish list for these guys to add maybe later in software, would be control for Amazing Slowdowner, which I also have on both of my computers and would add even more value to an already valuable piece of hardware that I'm using a lot these days. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick bootleg video. I know it's not specifically string related, but I figured during this crazy time we could all stand to have a little bit more fun during our practice. So that's it for now, and I'll see you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe below, by the way.